Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I will be predicting the main card fights for UFC 226 Miocic versus Cormier. So now that the intro's out of the way, let's jump right into the predictions. To start the main card off, we have what appears to be on paper at least an awesome striking matchup in the light heavyweight division. We have Gokhan Saki versus Khalil Roundtree. I think this will be an exciting fight, but there are no guarantees. Khalil Roundtree has pretty good striking, a lot of power in both his punches and his kicks, very explosive. I think defensively he is lacking significantly. He has cardio issues, and his fight IQ is lacking quite a bit. Gokhan Saki, on the other hand, is already a certified kickboxing legend, Hall of Fame career easily, one of the best kickboxers to ever do it, and he really did most of his damage in the heavyweight division. So power and size, when it comes to striking, is no problem to him at all. Gokhan Saki has insanely fast hands and insanely fast kicks, excellent timing and great counters. But I think he did show some weakness in his UFC debut. Though he won in exciting fashion, he looked vulnerable. In the clinch and the grappling exchanges seemed to fatigue him pretty quickly. And then that was a fight that didn't even make it out of the first round. So all this being said, I think Khalil Roundtree could have a shot if he mixed in takedowns or maybe even tried to rough Saki up in the clinch. But even doing that, they both would just be tired in the second round because Khalil Roundtree so far has only been a first round fighter, so they both would just be tired if they made it into the second round. And Saki's skill and experience would just shine even with both fighters being fatigued, leading to a TKO stoppage in the second round for Saki. But I don't think Khalil will make too many adjustments to mix in any other elements, or that the adjustments he will make will be that significant that they will make a huge difference. I see a nice firefight with Roundtree landing some good shots, but nothing clean, and Saki landing cleaner strikes, landing more frequently, and then eventually catching Khalil off a hook counter when he flusters Khalil with his better striking, significantly higher skilled striking, cleaner striking, then finishing him in the early part of the second round. So in this fight, I have Gokhan Saki via second round TKO. Then on to our next fight on the main card, we have in the lightweight division, Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. I already predicted this fight once before, but this fight fell through with the whole bus incident with McGregor and Chiesa got cut during it. Yeah, so you know the whole story and how that went. So back to the prediction. I think Anthony Pettis is one of the most talented fighters to ever compete in MMA, and that he is still deadly and is still hungry, but I feel the blueprint is just out there. Pettis hasn't done too much to change his style up, or really he might possibly have hit his ceiling. I also think Chiesa isn't the best style matchup with his size, strength, and wrestling. Pettis' kicks are always dangerous, but his punches do little more than set up his kicks, without really doing any damage or being of any threat. Plus, he's the shorter fighter in this fight, and will have to close more distance to land clean and effective strikes. And if he can't set up his kicks, Chiesa is long and has fairly decent straight that can clip Pettis down the middle if he isn't mindful. And also, Pettis has to worry about the takedowns at all times as well. I give Pettis a fairly decent shot still because he is a great fighter. And regardless, no matter what you say, he's still a great fighter and still has those skills, still has that talent. I don't think he's out of his prime yet. I don't think he's faded yet. I think he's still very much a contender. So he still has that shot. And Chiesa is known to have a weak body. He isn't the fastest fighter, so Pettis might be able to dance around him, mix it up, beat him to the punch, beat him to the kick, and slip some good body kicks in there, which could end the fight, or maybe just evade the takedowns and win a close decision. But I just see Chiesa getting at least 2 takedowns in this fight, countering Pettis' kicks, smothering him with wrestling and pressure, and winning a clean and clear-cut decision. So in this fight, I have Michael Chiesa via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have a good one here in the heavyweight division. Francis Ngannou versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. I can't see this fight not being entertaining for as long as it lasts. Two hard hitters who have been wanting to fight each other for a good while now. Power, both have it. Who has it more doesn't even matter. I think Ngannou is the cleaner striker and has better technique, whereas Lewis is just a character. His striking isn't the most technical, or at least it doesn't appear to be so, but it sneaks up on you, and he can end the fight at literally any second in the fight, and has done so on many occasions, just looking gassed and like he'll lose a decision, then taking away his opponent's consciousness with only a few seconds left to go in the fight. Neither man are the best wrestlers or grapplers. Ngannou has 1 submission win in his UFC career, and Lewis has some scary ground and pound if he ends up on top of you, and has a few KO victories by ground and pound to prove that. But to cut to the chase, Nagano's the bigger, taller, longer, debatably faster fighter. I see Nagano just being a cleaner striker in this fight. There will be fireworks for sure. I don't see too much wrestling or grappling involved, maybe some clinching. And I see Nagano's cleaner technique prevailing in the slugfest. I think it will be an exciting fight with Nagano stopping Lewis in the second round. So in this fight, I have Francis Nagano via second round TKO. Then on to our co-main event, we have a featherweight title fight. Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. This is a great fight, maybe even more so than advertised, maybe even more so than people realize. Both of these fighters aren't even in their 30s yet. Both young and still evolving. Max Holloway has been on a tear, riding a 12-fight winning streak that saw him become the champ and the true undisputed king of the featherweight division, whereas Brian Ortega remains undefeated in his MMA career at 14-0, and I have been on his hype train for a while. You look back at my old videos, and even well before those videos, there is just something special about Ortega. And it's odd when two fighters who truly have that it factor meet up and at such a young age. It's rarely ever seen, and on this stage, competing for a world title, this fight is special. Now to the predicting part. Max Holloway is the longer, rangier fighter, the better striker, and Ortega is the better grappler. And he's not giving up that much height and is a little bit more filled out for his frame than Holloway. Ortega can win this fight anywhere, despite Holloway being a better striker. But I see Holloway needing to win this fight with his striking and movement, which presents a challenge. So Ortega doesn't need to necessarily grapple alone to win this fight. He doesn't need to be desperate for the grappling exchanges. He could mix up on the feet with Max Holloway, but that's not the best case scenario or what he needs to do. But he certainly can do it damage there. Whereas Holloway, he really needs to avoid the grappling. So that presents opportunities for Ortega because he's dangerous for everywhere, and he's not necessarily just worried about one thing that Holloway is doing so much, whereas Holloway is going to be scared to grapple with Ortega, or at least as far as what we've seen, it's like he will be desperately avoiding grappling with Ortega in this fight. I think we won't just be saying a grappler versus striker matchup. We'll be saying a full mixed martial arts fight. A lot of people is going to see it as a striker versus grappler matchup, but it's really not the case because of how well-rounded Ortega is, and he's tenacious, and Holloway's tenacious. I think this will be a great back-and-forth, nail-biting fight with Holloway being able to slightly edge this fight using his footwork, faster hands, and better boxing. There will be some grappling exchanges and close calls, but Holloway will find a way to weather through, even if it's needed to be saved by the bell. They both are tenacious fighters that always find a way to win, but in this toss-up fight, I'm going to have to go with Max Holloway via decision. Now on to our main event. We have not only just a super fight, but a super fight with the heavyweight title on the line. Heavyweight champ Stipe Miocic versus light heavyweight champ Daniel Cormier. This is a fight I've been going back and forth with since it's been announced, and now I have come to a conclusion. So let's get to the prediction, let's get to the breakdown, and let's get to it. So Stipe Miocic is beginning to be seen by many as the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time, and for good reason. His resume backs him up. Still arguably, so it's only arguably. It's not undisputed greatest heavyweight of all time, so there are still arguments for other fighters to be the greatest, but he's definitely high up in those talks. And he's still building to his legacy as well. Stipe is the larger fighter, the heavyweight champion, the taller fighter, the better boxer for sure, and the better striker on paper leading up to this fight. He has solid wrestling. His wrestling background is solid, respectable, good fight IQ, and it is a problem for anyone that steps in the cage with him. Daniel Cormier, on the other hand, will be the shorter fighter, the smaller fighter. Boxing isn't as good, but he can more than hold his own in the striking department with anyone. He is the better wrestler, two-time Olympian. His pedigree speaks for itself. And Daniel Cormier himself is definitely one of the better fighters who have ever fought in MMA. Definitely high up on the list. He has only lost to one man in MMA. That one man is John Jones, who still is in talks to be the greatest MMA fighter ever. He's definitely in the top 5, contending for the number 1 throne. So not the worst person to lose to, personal beef aside. I think most are going to go with Stipe because of his size and his boxing, plus the fact that his wrestling is pretty solid and solid enough to defend against Cormier for 5 rounds, which are all fair assessments. But the people didn't mention that because Cormier lost to John Jones not only once but twice, that means Stipe will beat him as well, and maybe even easier because of those fights. and I just find that ludicrous. To me, that's worse than MMA math. Stipe presents a whole different challenge, really, and the tools that Jon Jones had that gave Cormier such a hard time really are not present in Stipe Miocic's toolkit. Unless he adds them during training camp, Stipe has fairly decent boxing. I'm more impressed by his power than his boxing, more so. But power has never been too much of an issue for DC. Size has never been a problem for DC. It was more so how long and lanky and odd but yet strong frame that Jones had, more so than him just being so big and so powerful and so strong that gave DC problems. That wasn't what gave Daniel Cormier struggles. Other than that, Daniel Cormier has never had a problem with bigger heavyweights, never had a problem with size. When he was a heavyweight, he was throwing around Barnett and Bigfoot Silva like they were feathers. And that was when Bigfoot Silva was at the top of his game, just recently destroyed Fader. And Daniel Cormier threw him around like it was nothing. That was when Bigfoot Silva was cutting down to 265. So no problem with size at all. So now back to Stipe. Stipe has a few punch combinations, nothing mind-blowing, barely throw kicks, occasionally a few elbows, a knee here and there, a leg kick every blue moon, but mostly just primarily uses his hands to get things done. Whereas Jon Jones' whole style utilizes his height and frame to keep people away from him, and he throws so many different types of strikes, and at such a pace, Jones would throw oblique kicks, leg kicks, front kicks, teep kicks, body kicks, switch kicks, spinning back kicks, body shots, eye pokes, flying knees, kicks, elbows, spinning elbows, stepping elbows, etc. And that's just a little bit of it. He will throw the whole UFC combo book at you in just one round. And we'll do that for every single round of the fight, plus mixing takedown attempts with variety, whether they be Greco or freestyle. And you can't forget about his submission threat. So he has so many things that he can present for you, so many different challenges, so many different threats. And the only thing he lacks is KO power. Jon Jones didn't beat DC with just his size and power. He beat him using his size, mixing in volume and variety, which Stipe can't even begin to dream of matching. And not saying that Stipe needs it to win this fight. I'm just saying that it's not the same correlation that just because Jon Jones beat Daniel Cormier that Stipe is going to beat him, or like Stipe has the same tools Jon Jones has. He doesn't. They're different fighters. So different fighters, different challenges, but definitely a big challenge nonetheless. I don't think Stipe Miocic will become Jon Jones over one training camp, but I think he can certainly take a couple notes from the Jon Jones fights and incorporate some of his techniques, just some, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 of those techniques, and might have some success. Like he can mix in a little bit more uppercuts, a stepping knee, work on his head kick, work on the body kick. Those could serve him well in this fight, given that DC doesn't respond well to body attacks. Head kick, because he leans a lot, which has been noted. So Stipe can take advantage of that. But Stipe isn't really known for his head kicks. But if he sharpened that up a bit, he could be effective with it. So now you got the gist of who these fighters are and who they aren't. So let's come to our prediction. I think Stipe should be favored just to get that out there. But I'm going to go with Daniel Cormier in this fight. I feel Stipe will be dangerous at all times during this fight, and Cormier has to be mindful of the power as well as leaving openings when he gets too aggressive. Plus, you got to respect Stipe's wrestling. He still has that there, and it's still a threat offensively and defensively. So a lot of people will just see DC as needing to wrestle, but when has he ever just wrestled? He has always fought wherever the fight needed to go and done whatever was needed to win the fight. I think he'll be the faster fighter. Maybe not the faster hands, but certainly everything else will be more. He'll be more mobile. I see him trying to pressure Stipe and make him embrace the grind. It certainly won't be easy for either man, but both are tough and gritty. I see a lot of back and forth, but I see Cormier securing at least one takedown, getting some effective ground and pound. Both fighters landing good shots, but I see Cormier breaking Stipe in the fourth, catching him on the feet, then taking him down and finishing him with ground and pound. So in our main event, I have Daniel Cormier via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight prediction for UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.